The meeting of the Auburn Housing Authority Board of Commissioners for June 8th, 2023 is called to order. This meeting is being recorded. Is there anyone in attendance who is also recording the meeting? No. May I have a roll call?
I, Rose Turner, here.
I, Sharon Catino, here.
Wendy Steinhuber here.
Roberta Briggs here. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance if you're able? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first thing on the agenda is a discussion and vote to appoint the replacement to the, for a replacement to the vacant seat.
Public comment.
Oh, public comment, absolutely. We'll have public comment.
Okay, so read his letter.
Okay, and I want to read a letter that was received under the public comment for the Housing Authority meeting of 6/8, which this is. And this is from Todd Corain. And he's a member of the Auburn Select Board. Dear Housing, it's dated Wednesday, June 7th, 2023 at 4:12 p.m. Dear Housing Authority members, first I want to thank you for your service and I apologize for making this public comment via email. But I work full-time and cannot attend a 10 a.m. weekday meeting in person. During COVID and now after COVID, in-person attendance at your meetings is difficult, if not impossible, for most Auburn residents, since they are during the workday. Additionally, even the members of your developments have raised concerns about attending in person due to a lack of accessibility for those who do not have access to a personal vehicle. This is even more difficult to those residents who are physically mobility challenged or have compromised immune systems that makes public interactions such as attending meetings dangerous to their health and well-being. As an interested citizen and former town meeting member from Precinct 3, Packagug Village area, and now Select Board member, I have been able to stay in touch with how the Housing Authority operates and decisions being made by watching the meetings via Auburn Community Television, YouTube, and Facebook pages. Having the opportunity to watch your meetings remotely during or after the fact has been a game changer for many in the community. It is a great way to ensure transparency of Housing Authority decisions and operations, allowing all interested Auburn residents and others to follow the board without attending the meetings in person. That is why I was shocked and disheartened to see that the Auburn Housing Authority was considering a vote to discontinue this practice at your meeting tomorrow. During a time when almost all boards and commissions around the Commonwealth have been embracing this new technology to improve transparency and encourage public engagement, it seems archaic, reactionary, and counterintuitive to even consider this idea. I strongly urge you to reconsider taking any action that would erode the limited level of access that residents currently have to your board and further reduce the transparency of your operations and decision-making process. The Auburn Housing Authority and its residents are an important member of our community, and as a board, you yield a large amount of power over some of the most vulnerable residents in Auburn. I trust that as the stewards of our public housing system, you will make the right decision and vote against this motion. Warmest regards, Todd. So this is wait a minute, I gotta get this one. How does the board feel about this?
We're not discussing that. We gotta go, that's further down.
Okay, where is
Nobody
it?
else for public comment.
Yes. Is there anybody else that has a public comment? You are limited to 3 minutes. No comment.
No comment.
Okay.
Now you're gonna go to number 3.
So I'm gonna skip this one.
Oh, we're gonna do this now.
All right. Now we're on vote number 1. This is a discussion and vote to appoint the replacement to the vacant seat. May I have a motion? Please state your name and that you are making the motion to appoint the replacement to the vacant seat.
I, Sharon Catino, am making the motion for the replacement of the vacancy.
Is there a second?
I, Rose Turner, second that motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Before we vote, I will open discussion on the matter. Are there any comments?
Have there been any letters of interest or anyone, no?
No.
Okay, then may I have a roll call vote? State your name and whether or not you are voting A or nay to vote on the appointment replacement.
Sharon Catino, yes.
Rose Turner, yes.
Roberta Briggs, yes.
Wendy Steinhuber, yes.
Okay. The vote passed.
Okay, now you need to.
Now we can send a letter.
No, you need to pick a person.
Well, we can pick a person. Yes,
You're
that's
gonna
right.
nominate a person.
All right, do we
to
have
fill the
any
seat.
nominations?
I, Sharon Catino, nominate Wayne Page.
Do we have a
Good.
second?
I, Rose Turner, second that nomination.
And that's to, for Wayne Page to be the person that, I didn't vote. I, Roberta Briggs, vote yes.
So
So,
Wendy Steinhuber abstain from this vote because I believe it's illegal.
What do you mean it's illegal?
The Board of Selectmen, first of all,
This is just for the nomination.
I know,
This is
there
not
needs
to
to be a
it.
letter of interest.
this is,
There should have been some, outreach to others. And any nomination is going to be, the Board of Selectmen have to do a roll call vote with this committee to
Yes.
elect anybody.
We're aware of
So I'm
that.
abstaining.
we are aware of
Okay.
that.
Okay.
I'm abstaining from the vote.
Okay. Okay, so,
And if we did not receive a letter of interest from Wayne, how do we know that Wayne wanted to become a member again if there wasn't some discussion
Because he told us.
between the board members?
He did tell us.
Who did he tell?
Me.
You?
Mhm.
And who did you tell? Everybody except me.
Okay.
Because clearly Sharon made the motion, she seconded it. So there's been some discussion as well.
I cannot make a motion as chair. So it's,
I'm
that's,
just saying, there's been some discussion behind
Yes.
the scenes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I will abstain, I'm gonna leave it at that.
And a lot of it was assumed because he did run for the seat.
And he
Yes.
didn't- And they did not receive the votes to get the seat, so.
Right, he lost. We know that.
okay. So our vote passed, there's there's 3 of us voting yes,
And one abstention.
and 1
And one
abstention.
abstention.
Okay. Vote number 2. Discussion and vote to accept the revised income limits for admission. And what's the FLS? I'm sorry, I'm not ready to pick up the abbreviation. I've got it here.
Fair, fair market.
Fair marketing, rates for continuing occupancy. May I have a motion? Please state your name and that you're making the motion to accept the revised income limits for admission and I still got a block against it, what is it? The FMR's.
Fair marketing.
Fair marketing. Receipts? No,
Rates.
rates. I'm sorry, my mind has gone blank. For continued occupancy. May I have a motion, please state your name and that you're making the motion, as I said, to accept the revised income limits for admission and fair market rates for continued occupancy.
I, Rose Turner, make a motion to revise income limits for admission and FMRs for continued occupancy.
May I have a second? State your name and that you second the motion.
I, Sharon Catino, second that motion.
Before we vote, I'll open it up for discussion. May I have a roll call vote?
I, Rose Turner, here.
I, Sharon Catino, here.
Wendy Steiner, review.
Roberta Briggs here.
Now, the fair market rents are something that HUD establishes every 2 years, and the state uses the same level. So this is something that we've been using for years, and that determines what income the residents pay, or what is acceptable to be allowed in to housing. So it's a standard thing. This is the first time they've ever asked the board to vote to approve, accept them, but it's something that we've always used. So they just want the board to vote.
Any discussion? Oh, okay.
So it's a fait accompli when it arrives. Okay.
Yeah.
But just for some reason, this is the first time they've ever asked for the board to vote
Yeah,
to accept these limits. But it is something that HUD publishes every 2 years, and the state adopts what HUD puts out, but now they want to vote on it.
okay. May I have? a
Does
roll-
everybody understand
Yes.
what
Yes.
it is?
I do.
Okay.
Now we have to vote, right? Okay. May I have a roll call vote? Please state your name and whether you're voting yea or nay.
Sharon Catino, yay.
Rose Turner, yay.
Wendy Steiner, yes.
Roberta Briggs, yes. Okay, we'll move on to vote number 4. Discussion and vote to approve the May check registers.
We're gonna table that till the next meeting.
All right. Okay.
Did we miss
Mhm.
number 5?
We're gonna go back, Roberta,
To
to
what?
number 5. About the televising the board meetings.
Oh, yes. I think we didn't vote on that. What number is it? Okay, it's vote number 3. Voting and discussion and vote to discontinue televising the Auburn Housing Authority meetings, and we did discuss this but we didn't vote on it.
When was it discussed?
That was just a comment made by a board.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry, okay. So, may I have a motion to state your name and that you're making a motion to discontinue televising of Auburn Housing Authority Board meetings.
I, Sharon Catino, I would like to make a motion to discontinue televising the Auburn Authority Board meetings.
Is there a second?
I, Rose Turner, second to discontinue televised of Auburn Housing Authority Board meeting.
Before we vote, I will open the discussion on this matter. Is there any further discussion on it? We had one comment in writing, which I read.
I'd like to know where this is coming from, who requested this item on the agenda?
The agenda is made up by me and,
The reason I ask is because I'm just wondering what the thinking is behind. The meetings are held during the day at 10 o'clock in the morning when a lot of people can't attend. And the only way that they can view them at their leisure is via YouTube or Facebook. And now we want to stop that from happening as well. So I'm just wondering, what is the thinking behind this and where is it coming from? Can anybody tell me?
Yes. Maureen, you're up.
I had the opportunity to call other local housing authorities, and I called 15 of them. Of the 15 I called, I got one yes. One local housing authority televised the meeting. 11 did not, and 3 I got no answer. They didn't answer the phone.
So based on that information, that makes it the right move for us? And we talk about, confidence in public housing, transparency, and making sure that the residents of our public housing are the most important, that they have all the information that they need. And then we're going to vote to stop televising meetings.
We want to be consistent with what other
That's
authorities
a
do.
cop-out.
No,
It's a
actually it
pop-up.
isn't. And we learned that the reason we were being televised was because of retaliation against one of the board members. And that's why we were being,
one at a time.
Yeah.
And you have said how you feel, and she is trying to explain it to you. Will you please allow her to do that? Thank you.
that the reason we weren't televised was done out of retaliation against one of our board members. So we called around to see who else was being televised, and we found that the majority of the boards that majority of the towns that we called were not being televised. So at this time, I made the recommendation that we not. And after the meeting that happened on May 23rd, and the bullying and the mistruths, it just, at this time, it does not seem like the right thing to do, in my opinion.
What about the people we serve? The residents, what about them? Shouldn't they be able to watch and see what goes on in the interest of transparency and confidence in public housing?
And if what was happening at the board meetings was in the interest of that, then I think it would be a different situation. But it just seems to be a mechanism that was put in place to promote certain things and not to benefit the housing authority
Or the residents.
or the residents.
Well, I'll say that I disagree, because the
We know.
residents need to know what is happening. And again, transparency and confidence in the work that we're doing on their behalf.
Does anyone else have any comment? How do you feel about it? Your residents, how do you feel?
I mean, we had a board member resign because of that meeting,
That's right.
because of the way that,
Because of a comment, correct.
I mean,
That was, to me, that was an attack
Mhm.
on that person.
It was a disgusting
It was
display.
disgusting.
It was a disgusting display.
Yes, it was.
And I think at this time,
But at this, I'm sorry.
Wendy, I honestly think at this time, until we can regroup and get our act together, get our board together with the fifth person, I mean, this is something we can address going down the road because it's in place. But I just, in my opinion, the bullying, the harassment, there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes. We don't need to be must-see TV. And it's not fair to the other board members to be bullied and harassed and mistreated by anyone. We were sandbagged at that meeting.
Yes,
I agree.
yes.
And it was a disgrace. And I don't want that going out as a representation of this board. That's not fair. It's not fair to the board members.
However, I will say that it was not controlled either. There was very little control about how that unfolded,
Mhm.
That's true.
right?
It is true.
And that falls on the person that's chairing the meeting.
That's
Okay.
true. And,
So-
and me,
It was allowed to go on when it should have been stopped.
Right, right,
but
definitely.
that's where the
So the
sandbagging.
chances of that happening again, if somebody, takes control of the meeting and, does not allow that to go on,
Mhm.
once they said that any kind of a grievance, say it's smoking, it stops right there. That's when it should have been stopped. And it should have been said, I'm sorry, that's a grievance, you need to file that with the office. That would have ended it, but it was allowed to go on.
And I think a lot of that was because it was unexpected
Yes.
and we were not prepared.
That was the
We
reason.
were not prepared. And that's why I think at this time, it's best to get our act together before we
That's correct.
go public.
Yes.
I mean, anybody's certainly welcome to come to the board meetings. But,
Yes, because you don't want them coming to individual board members to air their
right,
problems.
and they shouldn't be.
Because that then usurps your ability to do your job. But they
And
need
it's
to be
not
able to
fair.
come to a meeting as long as the content is controlled.
But we're not at that point right now. And the fact that it isn't something we're required to do, I think we need to step back and get our act together, let the residents know clearly what the process is, what actually gets brought to the board meeting, so they understand that the tenant complaints need to go to the office to give us a chance to address them. They don't need to be going to individual board members. They don't need to be telling individual board members that they're not doing their job and
Exactly.
harassing them and bullying them.
Yeah.
That's
I
uncalled
agree with
for.
that.
But
I
that's,
agree with that.
but that's what's going on.
Well,
We need to make the residents aware that there is a grievance process if they're not happy with what we're doing, if we're not following through.
For every action, there's an opposite
I
reaction,
understand that.
right?
Of course there is.
I've said my piece.
And I'll gotta be honest with you, people are actually threatening me. Well, if you don't do this, I'm calling Wendy. I'm calling Wendy.
And I told them, I will not speak with you, and if you have a problem, you show up at a meeting. And
They
that's
don't
my
show up.
standard.
No, they don't
That's
show
my
up at a meeting.
standard. Yes, they have every right to come to a meeting.
But then, if they have a problem, they should be coming to the office.
Yes, if they have a grievance, yes.
Any kind of problem.
We have a policy for that, and it should be put in writing and given to
Okay.
Lori in the office.
But you also have a public comment section, so they are able, as long as, like I said, as soon as a grievance, that's when it's stopped.
Right.
And you let them know that they have to put it in writing, and that you will not hear anything further from them unless it's not a grievance.
Yes, but the other part of that was, and it was my fault, because I made the determination that I let one person speak. Therefore, I had to let everyone that wanted to speak, speak. And that's what happened.
Correct?
Yes, but not go on and on infinitum.
Right, right, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, but once you let one person speak and they speak their mind, then you have to let the others do the same thing.
But it wasn't controlled.
It wasn't.
It was not controlled.
No, it wasn't.
And as soon, like I said, as soon as she said, oh, she's complaining about smoking, I'm sorry, that's a grievance, go to the office, put it in writing,
That's correct.
that's when it gets stopped. So now we don't want public comment, we don't wanna be televised.
We didn't say we don't want,
We're gonna do a public
we
forum.
will have public comment.
It's just,
So, what are we trying to accomplish here?
we're trying to shut it down, get our act together. I'm not saying that this is gonna go on indefinitely. You know, it's how the board feels, but the bullying, the harassment, the mistreatment, the lies, this goes out. And then once it's there, it never goes away. We didn't even have an opportunity to rebut any of it.
But that's not your role in that meeting, right? It's not, that's the whole thing, is we never should have answered, you have a right to say your piece, and we don't have to address it at the meeting. Then you go back and regroup, you figure out, you know, what it is you need to do moving forward, right? It doesn't get addressed at the meeting, at least that's never been my experience in a public meeting.
We
Ever.
do answer comments if they're short, something that you just need a couple of minutes to speak. But to go on infinitum, no, that's not allowed.
Exactly.
Okay, anybody else have anything else to say? We voted on this, right?
I'm gonna call for a vote on what,
Okay. So, now we can vote. May I have a motion to discontinue televising of the Auburn Housing Authority meetings at this time?
I, Sharon Catino, make a motion to discontinue the televising at this time of the Auburn Housing Board meetings.
I, Rose Turner, make a motion to discontinue televising of the Auburn Housing Association Board meeting.
so you're gonna second.
Second, I'm sorry. I second it.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. So it passes. Okay, and we did the check registers, right?
No,
That's
table the
for-
check register.
We table that to the next meeting.
Because Wendy needs to understand what we mean.
Yes.
What we mean by check register. She doesn't know that yet.
Right, and there'll be a lot of training coming up too, Wendy.
Yeah, I understand, I'm waiting to, I kinda do understand the check register, I have a small business, so I'm pretty much to snuff on that, but thank you.
I just don't, I mean, it's a lot of things getting thrown at you all at once. And I just wanna make sure, and it's good, it actually is good for them too, to make sure they understand what it is they're actually voting for and signing.
Yes.
Okay, we're on 5 now.
Yep.
right? Okay. Discussion and vote to review the community room policy. May I have a motion? Please state your name and that you're making a motion to review the community room policy.
I, Rose Turner, motion review the community room policy.
May I have a second?
I, Sharon Catino, second that motion.
And before we vote, I'll open it up for discussion on this matter.
And I think we talked at the last meeting, about, safe certification, permits for private parties, et cetera. And we also discussed talking about not allowing people to cook, because that's what the service
Right.
is, and serve to people, but they can bring items that were cooked at some other place that has that kind of oversight. And that the tenant would be responsible for, of course, keeping it clean, that it needs to be broom swept clean. And if anything is found in the community room after such a gathering, that it will be thrown away, no exceptions, but that they should make sure they take everything with them.
Right.
That way there's no nitpicking about somebody using my coffee creamer or eating
That's
my
right.
potato chips. You left it there, it's on.
No, that's good.
Also, along with that is unlocking the bathrooms.
Right.
So that people aren't forced to go outside of the building, especially, today it's raining, a couple months ago it was snowing. In inclement weather, we have to go outside and talk about safety and forcing people to go outside, and it just opens it up for other things.
But it isn't enclosed, you know what I mean, it's not like
Right.
they're going out in the, there is a,
But to not force them to have to go around, to do it. I did, take a stab at a draft, I'm gonna just, leave with you.
okay,
That
before,
just included that wording,
okay,
that's all.
before we get to this,
Yep.
before we get to this point,
Yep.
Maureen, you're up.
Whether or not,
What did you find?
the same people, the same 15 local housing authorities that I called regarding whether their community rooms were open, 10 of them answered yes, they were open, and 3 did not answer the phone at all, and 2 are not open at all.
Can I,
And,
for clarification, when you say they're not open?
yes, Lester had a fire, so that is closed. And Spencer has, they've given that community room for a time to the people who do Meals on Wheels. So those 2 are not opened to the tenants.
Okay, but the other ones are?
Yes,
The other
So,
10 are.
10.
so we know, then we asked them to send us.
If they were,
what
oh,
had- Yeah, what they had for rules and regulations,
Perfect.
so we have others to go by,
Best practices.
and this is the thing.
we didn't get copies of everyone. Some of them don't have any policy for the,
But we figured that it's in the best interest of the residents to have the community rooms open. We're concerned about liability, if, as far as things being left there, someone else eats it, gets sick, whatever. But we figured if we looked at what these other housing authorities have in writing, we just want to be consistent with what everybody else is doing. So we are gonna be open, we know that. To the extent of being open, I mean, for somebody to have a birthday party in the community room, that makes perfect sense. There's no room for them to have any kind of party in their apartment.
Exactly.
We need to have control of the number of people that attend. I mean, we have a limit, occupancy limit in that room. We need to be able to control the use of alcoholic beverages. We don't allow that. We have to control the smoking. We don't allow smoking.
Well, that's forbidden everywhere.
Right, so there's certain things that we have to put in place in order to protect the residents and
us.
the housing authority. So we figured, well, we'll call around, see what everybody else is doing, then we can compare what they're doing to what we want done.
So that is an agenda item, how come those weren't included in our packets?
We've been still, this is just an ongoing kind of a thing. We just are getting these in,
Mhm.
this was like this week. So we can turn around and photocopy what we have, and then go back and look, photocopy a draft, and at our next meeting, after, we can bring it back up on the agenda and vote.
So you mentioned smoking and alcoholic beverages, and that's already part of our community room policy.
Right, there exists a
Existing
whole
policy-
facility.
Existing policy, correct.
Mhm.
So how is that different than what you just mentioned?
Because
smoking
we're
and
not-
alcohol?
We're not mentioning who can actually use the community room, who can request use of the community room.
I'm sorry, but I thought at some point that the community room was open and there were already established policies, and I see that there is an application, and
Right.
I understand that COVID closed it down, and now COVID restrictions have been, and why can't the community room be opened back up to,
But
with the standards that were previously in place?
what hours of the community, what hours is it gonna be open?
what was the established norm prior to COVID?
They had a key, they could use it during the day, but I mean, we had it left open. There were people sleeping in the community room that did not belong here because the residents didn't lock it up, or they left it unopened so that a family member could sleep. We had some problems in the community room.
But you also had established guidelines.
That's
correct?
for
And
use.
application and all of that. Number of individuals expected to attend, how many, we probably should note that no more than X amount of people are allowed in the building, that kind of thing. Is
Wendy,
what
that
you
was
mean?
for an event. That was,
Yeah.
this was for an event. This wasn't
Right.
for people that wanted to play cards during the day.
Right,
There was never an issue with any of, other than cleaning up after themselves. There was never an issue with people wanting to play cards, just wanting together to have a cup of
but
coffee.
then it morphed into,
Then it morphed into feces on the walls in the restroom. And that's why the restrooms were locked, because we couldn't control who was,
is there somebody that's on site up at Packard Truck during the day, Monday through Friday?
what do you mean on site? Like a staff person?
Yeah, maintenance or anybody up there?
Maintenance are on staff too, but not to patrol the community room.
Right, but help me to understand, is it secured at the end of the day, or is the
Yes, it
staff
was.
member secured at the end of the
Before
day?
COVID, it was.
Mm-hmm,
They were locking it up, but the residents have a key. So a lot of the problems, if not all of the problems that we were having were caused by residents. Unlocking it so family members,
right. I heard
could
that.
crash
I
there.
understand that.
residents feces in the bathrooms, on the walls,
Mhm.
really?
There's a bathroom, things happen.
Yeah, but not like this.
All right, so
No,
somebody
not that.
purposely
Yes.
smeared feces all over the place.
That's right.
There was
Pretty
abuse.
disgusting.
Residents were complaining their things were stolen, they had a bag of chips, they're gone.
Again, that all becomes part of the policy.
But these, now you figure COVID just ended. This has been going on for 3 years. So this policy, we haven't addressed this policy since before COVID. So we need to, COVID locked us down,
Mhm.
now we're opening up. So we need to address the policies to address the complaints and problems that we've had, establish hours that we want it open. We have a policy in place for events, we've had that all along,
Mhm.
but we weren't open for any kind of events. I mean, we've had people that wanted to have their Thanksgiving dinner
Okay.
in the community room. So
So-
going forward, we need to come up with very clear policies on how our residents can be best served by the community room. That's what it's there for.
Okay, and how will we proceed going forward then?
I think we should look at what other people have and compare it to what we think and come up with a really good policy. And that's what we're gonna do going forward.
Okay, and so will there be a subcommittee that's developed for that?
No, I
or
think we
are
can do it
We're gonna work on it ourselves?
I think we can work on it
Okay,
ourselves.
so we'll be provided with copies from all of the other.
Absolutely. And we can even call,
Housing authorities.
there's
to
other
contact
housing
them.
authorities that we can contact
Mhm.
that I know will have very good policies.
How many of these are we seeking to get? We gotta
Maybe
look at all
10.
11, 10 or 11?
Yeah.
Or would 5 be sufficient?
If what we have here out of the 5 is what the board wants, and that's enough information, then that should be sufficient. If you don't feel that you have enough information, we can certainly call more. You know, I mean, I tend to look online and get policies from different places.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
that,
like you said, you don't wanna reinvent the wheel.
well, and some of the bigger housing authorities have attorneys on their staff. So I tend to go with them because legally the issues have already been handled.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean, as far as liability. We don't want anybody to get hurt on the property. We're not gonna risk anybody, any of our residents or any guests getting hurt. So I mean, if there's things, not reinventing the wheel, if there's things that we can do by looking through these, I mean, these may not be good for us. They may work for them, but they don't work for us.
Okay.
So I think if we copy what you wrote, copy
Yeah, It's
these,
just a draft.
give it to the board, but I mean, it's something.
And it was only based on, the only thing I included was based on our discussion of bringing in items that were already made.
Mhm.
That was it.
But these
Because
other
that's all I
policies,
discussed.
I mean, look at it, ours is a paragraph.
Yeah.
But some of these others are kind of lengthy. You know what I mean? So they went more into it. And if there's some ideas here that we can use before we go ahead, then why not do that?
Mhm.
And do one good policy that addresses all the issues that we've had in the past, and it gives us, the residents have a good opportunity to use the space, but to avoid the abuse.
Absolutely.
Because we have no control over what these people do.
So the one thing I'd like to ask them is, can we set a deadline as to when they'd like to complete this task and not let it go on for months
think
and
it's-
months and months? Can we?
Setting a deadline is really tight on the office depending on what they have to do.
But we can
Well, I
copy
thought we
these.
were
We
all
can
gonna
have-
re- I
we
thought
can
we were all
aim it.
gonna review these and
Mhm.
try to pull best practices and comment,
Now, how about the
No.
next board meeting? Would that be reasonable?
to have those copies?
No, but you'll get the copies today.
Okay.
Get the copies to you today.
Mhm.
Have everybody have a chance to take notes on what you like
Okay.
going forward.
Yeah.
We have Wendy's, we have other housing authorities that submitted these to us, and they're all kind of similar to us
I think there were 5 or 6 there.
in size. They might have better ideas.
Sure.
We can add them.
Terrific.
And if you feel that we can put together a policy amongst ourselves addressing what gets unlocked, who has access, because when you open up certain things, I mean, the restrooms are open to the residents. That part of it, I think it's just the laundry room. You can't go from the laundry room
Right, to the bathroom.
to the bathroom. But by opening that up,
Be opening that door, yes.
the home health care workers are gonna have access to the community room and the bathrooms.
Right.
They're doing laundry, right?
They're doing
They
laundry.
sit and play games on their phone or something in the community room while the laundry's going, that's a no-no?
They're not supposed to be there unattended.
No.
It's not their community room. That's the problem.
So then.
These,
create
a lot of these things,
policy
you
for
know,
that.
we have to go by state and federal regs.
Absolutely,
And-
absolutely.
And see, this is the thing, it's like, we're not there to provide access to the home health care workers, we don't even know who they are. We could, we don't
Right.
know. We
Right.
don't know that they're not making a duplicate key for their own use. We don't know. We don't even have the right to ask who they are.
Well, the keys that are given out, there are keys that can say right on them, do not duplicate. Is that the case?
That is the
absolutely
case, but
right.
that doesn't mean they're not being duplicated.
Well, I'm just saying, if we.
And there's-
put the
and
do
they're
not
in-
duplicate it on a reputable
But the resident is given
place, it's not gonna duplicate those keys.
these home care workers or their family members or whatever, and we have a policy in place that they can't be doing laundry. It's only for the resident.
They're doing laundry for the resident, correct?
They could be doing their own. We've had family members doing their laundry in our laundry room
Yeah.
because it's cheaper than
Well,
using.
Yeah, absolutely.
you know what I mean?
There's
There's
a
been-
lot of this stuff that goes on.
There's been
Absolutely.
abuse. So we're trying to eliminate the amount of abuse. And then you've got family members doing laundry, they're saying they're doing it for their parent, and the residents are seeing, kid, clothes this big. So obviously they're not doing their parents, I mean, nobody's this size,
Mhm.
so there's abuse. And we charge like, what is it, $1.25?
Yeah.
For a wash and a dry. That's a lot cheaper than going to a laundry room.
Absolutely.
So the residents are saying, well, okay, we can't do our laundry because we're being we're giving these people that can't do their own priority over us, and we're seeing that they're washing their grandchildren's clothes.
Mhm.
And they're like, well, what's this about? They're not supposed to be doing that. Why are they doing it? They're abusing the laundry room policy, which we have a policy for everything that might not be the best,
Mhm.
but we had something in place, but it's the level of abuse that happens. And we don't
So
have,
there's no monitoring or anything that
We
goes
don't-
on up there?
no.
None.
none.
So is it also my understanding that you have unfulfilled positions that you have funding for that haven't been filled? And could it be somebody that's stationed up there that's doing something, that's keeping an eye on things? Or what, I hear a lot of problems, but can we work on, let's find the best way to solve these problems? rather
Well-
than being punitive and retaliatory based on bad actions of one or two or three individuals that live in the housing.
So you're thinking about having somebody to monitor
I
the
don't know,
laundry
maybe
room?
they're up there doing work, while maybe there's some work, busy work that they could be doing while they're monitoring the
When you,
community room.
you know, this is independent living too.
It's
It
independent.
is, I understand that, yes, yes.
And we're not police.
No, but that's what I'm saying, there's got to be a balance between, yes, the few bad apples that do things that, and the rest of the community. There's always gonna be a few bad actors. But generally, do you find that the population is pretty good and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, generally? Generally? I'm not hearing a yes.
We don't know.
Like I said, we're not a police department. We
No, we aren't.
monitor everything.
That's why
We
it's
can't do that.
right.
Well, we could,
But in the next breath, we're being told that we have to shut it down in order to make people comply with the rules.
Sometimes you do.
And that's punitive
and see like the
for
laundry
everybody
rooms.
except the few bad actors.
But like the laundry room use, the residents all have a key to the laundry rooms. There's two, one in the front and one in the back. I'm driving through in the middle of the night and like the lights are on in the laundry room and the machines are going. And I'm like, well, okay, who's doing laundry in the middle of the night? Well, I confronted one man and he was living illegally with another resident and he's doing his wash. I'm like, you have no business being here. And he told me I have no business telling him what he's gonna do.
That's
That's
happened
what I
before.
say, yes, that, you know, and
We-
there are bad actors. for
And this
sure.
is the thing, and it creates a potential dangerous situation for the residents because they shouldn't be arguing with anybody, number one,
Right.
and they shouldn't be confronting anybody who could hurt them. So,
So do you see that there's any kind of a solution for this besides locking everything down tight and stopping access to the residents?
well, a lot of it is the residents have the right to have access. It's their family members, it's whoever, if they leave the door to the laundry room open,
Yeah, we're
it's
going around, I feel like we're going around in
We are.
circles here.
we are.
Um,
But that's a laundry room
There are some
use
bad
problem.
actors,
Mhm.
we all, generally the population abides by the rules and does what they're supposed to do.
Laurie also is here in the middle of the night at times, just to check on things and make sure
I mean,
that
doors
we-
left
that-
open. It's like,
that the laws are being, rules and regulations are being
Mhm.
followed.
What
For
about
the
videos,
benefit
what
of-
about video surveillance and things like that, has that been
the
investigated?
problem with the video is you actually have to monitor it.
But there are companies that do that,
But then we'd be hiring a company to do that.
but that's what they do.
But we don't have the money to do all of these things that we would love to do.
On the federal side, yes. On the state side, no.
Okay.
So that's something we can look at budget-wise.
Ask about, yeah. Okay.
So it's like, we're not, I don't know that we're always proactive. We tend to be reactive on some things, because the minute something happens, we have to do
It's
something.
addressed.
So is it always the best solution? No. But in the meantime, you gotta put, see, the residents have the access. It's the abuse of that access is the problem, to the community room
Right.
and the laundry
Right.
room. They do have a key to open the doors. Who they give the key to, or if they leave the door open, is where the problems come in.
But we've had a problem with stealing toilet paper and paper towels. I bring them over there, and in 2 days, they're gone.
And the maintenance puts the paper towels
Yes.
there, they put the toilet paper there, to the point where at one point they were writing in magic marker, property of AHA. So that when there was one resident we suspected of stealing them, and sure enough, they went into her apartment and there it was. Everything we put in, this
Gone.
resident was taken out, and maintenance found it in her apartment, she denied it. And then they're showing her inside, here you go. We're not picking on you. You're taking our product.
Yeah.
So that it's not there for when somebody else goes to use it. They're in the bathroom thinking they're gonna have toilet paper,
Yeah.
And they're
It's
not
on.
thinking they gotta check before they go,
Right,
and so it's a problem.
nothing worse.
Yeah, and then they're in there, and who are they gonna tell? There's no paper. It's not like there's a family member that you can say, can you give me a roll? There's nobody there.
So you suggested at the next meeting, we'll get copies of these today, and the next meeting, we can come back with what we think we like in some and what we don't like in others.
And if you look, there's probably a laundry room use policy in your book too, and that can be
That can
addressed
be in coordination.
in coordination.
Yeah.
But everything we've done, Wendy, has been for a reason.
I understand that, but at least keep the community room locked down until we can nail this down. But what about people signing up for events?
They can do that.
They can do that as of today. They
As
can
of
do
today,
that.
they can sign up for events, but I am the ultimate approval on those events.
I understand that, and as you should be. The other thing that I noticed on that application is maybe we note on there how many people are allowed in the building, so that there's it's very clear about how many people they can have in attendance at this, because this is the time of year for graduations and all kinds of celebrations that people want to happen, and we're already in to the second week of June now. And these people need access so they can enjoy these milestones with their families.
And
So-
it's not just that, Wendy. The Housing Authority put on events.
Oh, I understand
That's
that,
why
but
we-
those days are gone right now, right? Through COVID, that stopped.
Not necessarily, because as of May 11, COVID's over.
COVID is over.
But we've had nursing home, like assisted living places have asked if they could put on a program.
Oh, right.
We've done
right,
that in the
yeah.
past.
Yep.
And that's helpful. They bring refreshments.
Right,
It's
Yeah.
and anybody that's gonna come and bring refreshments, that's a win for us.
Yeah.
Because the residents get to come, socialize. This is what we've always done in the past.
yes.
We've had events here. That's why I went for Serve Safe.
Yeah.
We were preparing parties. I always had a holiday party. We've had them here.
Yeah.
We've had them at the Elks. These people need something to do. And anything we can do for them, like this. These are things we've done in the past. We had a relationship with the schools where we bring residents down to have time with the kids in the after-school program. This is stuff that we've always done in the past. I sponsored bus trips,
Yeah.
went to the Colonial Club, we've been to the Spencer Country Inn, Wright's Chicken Farm. The Housing Authority would rent the bus, the residents would have to pay for their own meal, and anybody that could go. I mean, I took bus trips with these people. And then it's like you just have to, we've got to find things for them to do. But we've got to do it in a way that it doesn't come back to hurt us. Do you know what I mean? The state told us, in no uncertain terms, there's no money in our budget for parties. I've been having parties all along. I've always had a holiday party. We send cards for everything. Anytime any chance I get to send them a card, I do. Because most of their friends are gone. Nobody bothers to send a card anymore.
Right.
But you can ask anybody. They get cards from us for all the events,
Always.
every holiday.
Mhm.
Whether they practice it or not, they get a card.
Yeah.
They usually get candy. Although there's one that they've told us they can't get candy because she's serious diabetic. But they all get something. I am always
Absolutely.
buying candy. I have it out in bowls so that they have access to that, because then they don't have to buy a candy. They just have to come to the Housing Authority, and if they want a Hershey Kiss, guess what? It's here.
And that's terrific, that's all
Yes.
great. And like I said, I'm only concerned about them being able to have events, and do we need to vote on that we open it for events again, now that COVID has been lifted, or is that just gonna happen? And let everybody know, but of course, is there gonna be a notice sent out, because now we're not gonna be televising this stuff anymore, so how are
Yes,
people gonna know?
yes. We're gonna send out notices for
Okay.
everything.
Would
We're
you
gonna post
include
it.
would you include it in our packet? or-
Absolutely.
Okay, that's
There's
great.
there's no issue with that. The
Yeah.
bottom line is, I myself want them to have access to those community rooms. My mother participates they're doing puzzles in the back community room
And they knit together?
every day.
They love it.
And a lot of the issue was because the senior center was closed, where are they gonna go?
Mhm.
The senior center provides a number of events
Yes,
for them
they
to be. They're a wonderful
Yeah.
resource for our residents, especially at Pack Job. They're a wonderful resource, but because they got closed in February because of that flood, they've been limited as to what they can do. Of course, the weather was bad. Now the weather's starting to get better. They're starting to go. They're doing puzzles in the back, and they're playing cards. And this is what we want. They need to be able to socialize. They can't do it in their apartments because the apartments are too small. I mean, you can have maybe 1 or 2 people, and then that's it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
know, that's
these
exactly why I brought
But
it
this is
up.
the thing, but
Yeah.
we're just recovering from COVID.
Yes,
So they just need to give us time to get this squared away. We can fix the policies. There's no reason why. We can send out a notice that they can submit a request for use. There's a group that plays cards a couple times a week, so they're gonna have to reserve that space so that we don't allow someone else to come in and have a birthday party in the middle of their playing of the cards.
okay.
Do you know what I mean? So there's some things that we need to make clear to the residents, but it's there. But as far as using the stove and the kitchen, we don't have a permit for this right now. We don't have a permit and
Permit for what?
use of the kitchen.
Well, we've talked about that.
No, but in
The
order,
serve safe,
the serve safe is something different,
okay.
right? The serve safe is saying that if I were to hold an event, that I'm responsible. That's where the serve safe came in, was me. I'm not gonna monitor somebody else's event.
So is it a town permit for the kitchen?
Mhm.
Okay, so then someone will be
Board of Health.
contacting. Board of Health, Darlene Boyle.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you for the clarification.
But we shut that down because we weren't using the kitchens, and I'm not gonna authorize anybody else to use the kitchens either, because we're not there to monitor what's going on.
Right.
But you know how you were talking about Shaw's and the coffee cakes and all that?
Right.
There's no reason why none of that can be done. There's no
Right,
reason,
that's what so I say, that's what I included in the draft.
but I mean,
Okay.
as long as they're not preparing or warming up, I mean, other than a microwave, and even that, we've had food burnt in the microwaves, and, you know what I mean, that, it's an issue. Anything that doesn't need to be warmed up, they're good to go.
Okay.
They're bringing in their own beverage, as long as it isn't alcoholic. I mean, if they're bringing a box of Joe, they're good to go.
Hey, that's a good tagline. Box of Joe, you're good to go.
We'll see. I come up with a good one.
That was a good one.
Especially when I have that slug. You know what I mean?
Not only
We're not
that.
trying to deny them
No.
anything. Like my mother,
And no one is saying that you are.
but it's like, we're just coming out of COVID, and
May
This-
11th.
May 11th.
And we're closing in on a month now, and we could, I'm just asking if we can get this stuff.
And I
so
know,
that people
I know
can
residents
enjoy
have
their
asked.
families,
Mhm.
have a piece of cake,
Mhm.
celebrate these milestone events that are happening, like I said, especially at this time of the year.
And bring stuff from wherever
The
they
bakery,
buy,
Whatever, yeah.
box of Joe,
Yeah.
and they're all set. But I mean, as far as giving them access to our kitchen and stove, that's not a good idea.
And
Well,
not
that's not
only that,
included.
even to warm something up, we don't know how long it might have been sitting on their counter at home.
And that's where ServSafe comes in.
That's right.
Okay, I'll leave it at that.
See, the deal with how long things are being left out is an issue before you go and serve it to somebody. Do you know what I mean? So you got potato salad, well, okay, how long was it on the kitchen counter before they brought it?
It was not made at the location, it was brought from somewhere else, and the onus is on wherever it was brought from, not on the kitchen at the authority. So that's the bottom line.
And that's the thing, we have no idea how
Right.
long.
It's really, it's up to them. You wanna take the chance and eat it, you take the chance and eat it.
But we're not gonna be liable for
No.
anyone
No.
getting sick.
For it. Absolutely not.
All right, so we're gonna copy what we have here, and if you think it's okay, if there's things you like about it, you're gonna highlight them. We have highlighters,
Yeah.
we have a million of that. And then we're gonna look at, Wendy's is gonna be included in this. Okay, so that's gonna be, you get that today. Our next meeting, this is gonna be on the agenda, and you can come up with the ideas that you like as a group. We don't need a subcommittee, we've got enough. We've got 2 residents here. Roberta's been on the Board of Health, she's a nurse.
I'm a retired nurse. I let my license
Yeah, we
go.
talked about that.
But she is still a nurse, and she's been on the
That's right.
Board
I
of
didn't
Health.
take the nurse out of the person.
And
It
she's been
works.
on the Board of Health and going
12 years I
forward.
was on the Board of Health.
So we can come up with a good policy, be in compliance with everything, compare what other people are doing compared to what we're doing.
Okay.
And once we come up with a really good policy, we're gonna send it to everybody.
Right, and then we're gonna unlock those doors so that they can use the bathrooms while they're doing laundry.
If they're locked, the residents should be able to do, but what about the home care?
Did they, I don't know
See,
about
that's-
the home care, I'm strictly talking about residents, so that they can use the bathroom without having to go inside the
I
building.
think the residents have access, because if they have access to the community room,
That's correct.
they should have access to the bathrooms.
Is that your,
That's correct.
okay?
Yep.
That's been your experience too?
I don't
He-
usually go over there.
But if the laundry, if
So
the
I don't know.
bathrooms are locked, we can unlock the bathrooms.
Okay.
But it's for the residents' use,
Mhm.
not for the home care
Yes.
workers' use, okay? That's the issue that didn't get mentioned. And the abuse, the first time we see somebody sleeping in there, I come through in the middle of the night, then we're gonna be addressing that.
And I think, again, when we talk about reaching out to other housing authorities, it'd be a good idea to ask that question, how are you handling? Now, you said the community rooms are open, but Maureen, were you able to gather any other information from them when you talked?
I certainly will. Anything you folks want, I'll ask.
Okay.
And they're starting to love getting calls from Maureen.
Find out, if you wouldn't mind, ask them how they handle these rogue, issues, and are they having these same types of issues, and likely are, we're experiencing it,
Right.
others are as well. And how are they handling it?
I certainly will.
That'd be great, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Well, we're experiencing they are too, and a lot of these, it's even
That's what I
worse.
just said.
It's even worse. But if we can come up with good policies, then they've asked me for years what policies we have, and we've always shipped them out. So that's why for us to be calling them, they're understanding, these people I know. They know that we're having an issue, and what do they have, and we'll come up with something good, and then we'll pass it along. Whether they use it or not is up to them.
I'm sure they've had issues too.
Yes,
So they-
and they
Right,
also
that's what I'm
are
saying.
veterans.
And how are they handling it?
How do they,
Right, how are they handling it?
mhm.
And if it's legal, then we have the
Best
resources.
practices is
Yep.
always a,
But for the last 3 years, it's
sorry,
been
my
kinda,
granddaughter's in the emergency room, so.
Hmm?
Said my granddaughter's in the emergency room, so I'm getting information.
Oh, gee.
all right, so we're,
I don't need to be on my phone is my point.
no, okay, so we're gonna, everybody's gonna get these. You're gonna highlight, you need a highlighter, we'll give you a highlighter, but you're gonna see what you like, and we'll, at the next board meeting, we'll discuss this again,
Mhm.
and go from there, come up with a good policy.
Sounds like a plan.
And I'll check to make sure the restrooms are open for the residents' use.
Great, thank you.
I mean, that's a no-brainer. I mean, you're over there, you need to use the restroom. But I do not want the home care workers to have access. They
No.
don't belong in the community room without the resident with them.
No.
It's not their room.
I know, how do you,
And we're not to provide entertainment. While they're doing laundry, they could be doing other things for the resident. Instead of
Agreed.
sitting there watching the
That
wash.
is true.
Do you know what I mean? And that's what happens, they're on
Not the
there.
best use of their time.
Absolutely not.
That's right.
And the residents are paying for the use of their time. And there's been complaints about that too.
Okay, are we all set with this discussion now?
Okay.
Anybody else?
I'm all set?
Okay.
And it's gonna be on the agenda at the next meeting, and we should be able
Yes.
to come up with a good policy then. And all you have to do is throw out the ideas, and we'll type it up, and then we can vote. Okay?
Okay.
And then we'll address the laundry room. We'll try to get information on other people's laundry room
Yeah.
use too. And then we can address that policy. Okay?
Sounds good.
The next thing on the agenda is discussion and vote to approve the minutes of 5/11/2023 and 5/15/2023.
No, you won't be able to vote
Right, I
because
was
you
not
were,
here.
you were not here.
Nope.
May I have a motion? And a roll call
I, Sharon Catino, make a motion
to approve.
to approve the minutes of 5/11/23 and 5/15/23.
Do I have a second?
I, Rose Turner, second that vote to approve the minutes of 5/11 and 5/15/23.
I, Roberta Briggs, vote to approve the minutes of 5/11/2023 and 5/15/2023. Any discussion? All in favor? We just did that.
Aye.
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 And an aye. Okay, it passes. Executive Director's Report.
Okay, as of right now, the AC mini heat pump things are being cleaned, professionally cleaned at Stoneville. The reports that we're getting is the company that we're using is doing an excellent job. And they're young, but they're very, very personable. They're taking the whole thing apart, cleaning it, putting it all back together. So from what we're hearing, that's gonna work well. So once we get through Stoneville, then we can look at scheduling the same thing to happen at Packagug Village. But it sounds like we have the right company in place, dealing with our residents, and our systems will be cleaned properly. Okay? We have the vacancies, we have 2 apartments that are now ready at Stoneville that are gonna be housed by veterans.
One's coming in tomorrow
Okay,
to see the apartment.
and then the other one will be right after that. So that'll take care of our 2 vacancies out here. And then we'll go from there. Packagug, the vacancy up there, the second floor, is in the process of being turned over. So that's not ready to rent yet. But that'll go to a non-elderly disabled person off the CHAMP list. Okay? And that'll give us our placement rate will be where we're supposed to be with this person. Okay, the only thing we have to do from now on is check the birth dates of the people that we're placing to make sure they are disabled, non-elderly, and not elderly. Or if they're even close, but we're gonna go by what CHAMP gives us for a list.
Okay.
And we're in the process of addressing the CHAMP list. The federal list is easier because we do that in-house, whereas the CHAMP list is the statewide list. But we're gonna get it so that we can print it out and that you'll all have access to it, so you can see where we're placing these people on the list.
Not who, just what? Just-
Removing any identifying information.
Right.
And
Oh, yeah.
strictly elderly disabled veteran, the day they applied, and where they are on the list.
You both that down. I got that, I've got
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
But it's a matter of figuring out how to do it and take all those things out. But we're in the process of working on that. We've started the recertification process at Stoneville. And I have till the middle of July to get those rents done. They have to have 2 weeks' notice, because it goes into effect August 1st. Okay, so they have to have it in by the end of June, that we're always waiting for the stuff to come in. But we'll get it done by the middle of July with what we have, and then going forward from there, we have to send them a letter, oh, by the way, we need this. So that's that. And I can't think of anything else right now. Do you guys have anything?
Thank you. The only thing that I was thinking of is to make sure when information is sent to you I noticed on the bottom of most things, it says for in office use. So these things you don't show to people outside of this
Right.
Body.
body. And it's not open for discussion
Mm-mm.
at all with anybody else until we have gone through everything that we're supposed to be doing, and that it's completed. And then if they want information, they can call and get information from the office.
And then the other thing is, if somebody actually complains to you about something, you can write the complaint down. Make sure Roberta gets it as the chairman of the board,
Mhm.
and then she lets me know, and if it's something that the office handles, then the office will handle it. If it's something that the board needs to address, then we go through Roberta, put it on the agenda, and then the full board addresses the issue.
So
Because if
have,
it involves a policy that needs to be reviewed,
Right.
then that's how we'll go about it. Put it in writing, you received a complaint from so-and-so, goes to Roberta. If it goes to me, or if it goes to you, then we'll deal with it appropriately, okay?
The other thing that I think about that too is if somebody calls you and asks you to write a recommendation to them, we can't do that because we are on the board.
Mhm.
And so that would be a conflict of interest for us. That goes through the office. And then you have somebody outside of this committee making a recommendation.
What
I
kind of
believe that's right,
recommendation?
isn't it? Well, if they just recommend, say this person needs a place and,
Oh,
you know,
You're talking about somebody calling you and see if there's
see
any
if
way you
there's
can
an
get them
inside
in.
way of getting in.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, we don't get involved in that.
But maybe we need, we'll see if we don't.
Well, we could.
It's part of the
Yeah.
recommendations,
Mhm.
though. That, that's just
should
an
be,
ordinary thing that you just don't do. I don't know, everybody asked me, I said, I can't recommend you, you can go to the office and apply.
Mhm.
But I can't do anything like that because I'm a member of the board.
Does everybody understand what she's
Yes.
saying?
yes.
You can't help them
Mhm.
get in.
No.
There's a process that has to be
Mhm.
followed. By law,
Right.
there's a process.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
It's conflict of interest is what it
Mhm.
is.
Okay.
I have a question. Has the Board of Selectmen been notified about the vacancy on our board?
Yes.
Yes.
And when did that happen? You know,
When did it happen?
last week?
I got it here someplace, just give me a minute.
The day of the last meeting, thank you.
No, I got it here.
We did notify them
Yeah, that's.
within the appropriate amount of time.
That's all I asked.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Mhm.
We can get you a copy of it if you want.
Yeah, that might
The
be a good
notice that they
idea.
received.
Put it in the package, yeah.
Any member items? Are we through?
Well, the only other thing is that I want to go back to, how did we know if there was no letter of interest? Did you guys have a discussion about Wayne Page? And how did you know, when did you know?
Wait, what?
You want it on the record about
What?
the discussion about Wayne coming up for the board member seat?
I don't
We
remember.
How did you
didn't
know
make-
to, if there was no letter of interest, how did you know to make a motion for Wayne Page?
Because I
It
would
was-
like him back on. That's
And there
the
was no
only thing.
discussion?
With,
Okay.
I didn't dis-
well, I didn't discuss it.
All right. Okay.
To me, he was a logical one because he ran for the seat also, and he's experienced. And it's only a one-year appointment.
Right, I understand what it is. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, what else have we got here? Uh, Any other member of items? Anybody else got anything else?
No.
And then again, public comment. Is there any public comment? Wayne Page.
Hello, my name's Wayne Page, 90 Old Common Road. I'm a concerned citizen of Auburn, and I'm here today say that the first meeting after the election was appalling. It did nothing but crucify board members, the director. There was false statements made by certain members. And the thing is they were attacking board members. And it even caused a poor girl to quit because she was so disturbed and distraught over what happened. And it's just wrong. You can have a meeting, you can discuss what's going on, but if that meeting wasn't set up, then there's never been a set up meeting. Believe me. There's no doubt that that was set up. These people have not been coming to any board members' meetings in many, many, many years. But all of a sudden, right after an election, you get a new member, and they're all here. They have plenty of time to come here at any given day that there's a meeting and discuss their issues. I know a couple of them that have came and discussed issues before that were taken care of. But nobody had mentioned that. All they were saying, there was one specific lady, some of them did have legit complaints. It was just done at the wrong time, and it just looked to me like a setup. And you can't have that. And the thing is, like I was saying, there was one lady specifically. Now, I'm not going to use names because I don't do that. That's another thing that's disgusting, that they went ahead and were using people's names. But this one lady, through her whole spiel, lied through the whole thing. She made comments that weren't true. She criticized people on this board, criticized a girl that's been working with this board for a few years. She's been very dedicated. She always had good questions. And she was out to help anybody like the rest of the board does. You people did not deserve what you got from that meeting. And the thing, hopefully it won't ever happen again, but I suppose when you're in the position you're in, or anybody, that things like this happen. But a lot of times you come out with the facts of the thing. You don't call people liars. One person was called a liar. It is a very nice lady. And then she was called a liar for getting something signed. That thing she was getting signed was for my papers to run. So, get your facts straight. If you want to come here, more power to you. Come on down. But don't wait for a setup time or a setup meeting to do it. You've had all these years to come here and express it. You never did. Never did. Very seldom did we ever see any citizens come to meeting. But like I said, after that election, all of a sudden, here they are. And it was a disgrace what they did to you guys as a board. All of you. And that's all I got to say. And other than thanks for nominating me for being on the board again.
Thank you.
And, you got to work together. You can't do what happened at that meeting. There should never be another meeting like that. Or taken out on people on the board. You know, I'm very sad about the way that happened. I'm not mad, I'm sad that something like that can occur to people that are working their hearts out to help out people in housing. And to get what you people got, even I'll apologize for it. I wasn't there, I had nothing to do with it. And hopefully you keep up the good work. And hopefully you can work together and make this place great for the people that live here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comments? Being none, we need a motion, a roll call motion to adjourn.
I, Sharon Catino, make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I, Rose Turner, a motion to adjourn. Oh, second, I'm sorry. Second the motion to adjourn. I'm sorry.
We need a motion to, to adjourn.
It's been a motion and second.
Second,
and
that's
all-
what I'm saying. We have to
Just
have a
second,
roll call.
aye.
You didn't have a roll call yet.
Right,
So, okay. Motion to adjourn, we're voting on that now.
We're voting on a motion to adjourn.
Mhm.
I, Sharon Catino, make the motion to adjourn.
Motion has, who made the motion?
I did.
You did.
I did.
Okay, I'm sorry. Then
Now you
aye.
need to vote.
Yeah, now we need to vote.
Aye.
That's what I'm saying. Put your name and then
Sharon Catino, aye.
I, Rose Turner, make the
No.
motion.
Steinberger, aye.
Roberta Briggs, aye. Thank you very much.